Hello and welcome back to our Vectorworks 2026 drafting tutorials. Today we're going to be working on drafting kind of a generic proscenium theater that's loosely based on the Barrymore Theater in New York City. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and just start a new Vectorworks file. I want to create a new document using a document template. It's going to be the Spotlight Imperial template, so I'll say OK. And we've seen this before like we did with the Studio A project, so I'm just going to click on that and delete that bit of text. I don't need it. And I'm going to come up to my layer drop-down menu, and I'm going to make theater floor plan the active layer. From here, we need to create a new class, and this is something that we haven't done before. It's important to note that classes determine what objects look like, whereas layers refer to where on a drawing an object is. So a class would define the line weight of something, the line type of something. Is it dashed? Is it solid? Is it thick? Also the fill. Is it solid? Is it color? Is it a gradient? Is it a pattern? Is it a hatch? Etc. Whereas layers are where on the drawing it is. So is it on the floor plan layer? Is it on the scenery layer? Is it on the lighting layer? Etc. So we're going to create a new class. So underneath my active layer drop-down menu is my active class drop-down menu. And in fact, in this section, it says layers and classes right here. So I'm going to just click on the class options drop-down menu and select show organization dialog box. Here are all of the classes that have been pre-populated by Vectorworks because it knows that I'm working in a theatrical environment. You can see that none is the selected class right now. That's usually where we live, but we're going to change up some things and make some new classes. So I'm going to click new, and I'm going to get this box, and I'm going to name the new class Theater Shell. And say OK. And there it is. I'm going to go ahead and make it the active class because it's what I want to be drafting in. And then I'm going to go to Edit. And it'll bring up this dialog box. So the first thing I wanted to check, and I think that I neglected to do this in the written tutorial, so I apologize. I want to check Use at Creation, which means any of the information that I put in here will automatically be applied to any object that I draw in that class. So I'm going to have it be, for now, solid and color. We'll change those in just a minute. I'm going to change my line thickness to 20 because this is going to be the outer proscenium and wall of this theater. And for style, I'm going to change it to hatch. And then I'm going to click on this drop-down menu, and I'm going to select the cast iron HF. I'll click OK. And now you can see that it has a specific line type. It has a line thickness. It has what my pen is, which is black, and the fill, which is this hatch. Also, it's the active class, so it's what I'll be drafting in. From here, I'm going to click OK. And I'm ready to start drawing. First thing I'm going to do is draw my proscenium and outer walls of the theater. And I'm going to do that using my double line polygon tool. I want to make sure that I am in left control line mode. I'm going to double check my preferences to make sure that I'm in create polygons. And I'm going to change my separation to 10.5 inches because the walls are going to be 10.5 inches thick. From here, I'm going to start drawing my, my theater. So I'm just going to click an empty space and come out here to the left. And I'm going to make that first segment 11 feet, 10.5 inches. I'll click there and move my cursor up, and we'll make this 26 feet, 10.5 inches. And I'll click here, and we'll go over to the left, 66 feet, 9 inches. And I'll come down after I click to another 26 feet, 10.5 inches. And then come back over to the left, 16 feet, 10.5 inches. And at this point, I'm going to double click to complete that polygon. So as you can see, it's got a line thickness of 20 and it's already hatched for me. So there's the proscenium and outer wall of my theater. Next thing I'm going to do is finish drawing in some parts of the proscenium arch. So I'm going to zoom in on this downstage right corner, and I'm going to activate my rectangle tool, and I'm going to start it right here in this corner. And my rectangle is going to be -7 inches on the X and 4 inches on the Y. And we'll click to complete that. And again, you can see it has the proper line thickness around it and a little bit of that hatch in there. From here, I want to mirror that to the other side. Now I can't just mirror it across the center because this space isn't symmetrical. So what I'm going to do is, with that rectangle selected, I'm going to activate my mirror tool, and I'm going to hover over this bottom right smart point. Without clicking, I'm going to move my cursor to this endpoint and hover there. And then again, without clicking, I'm going to come back to the left, and it will have established the midpoint between those 2 points. I'm going to click there and move my cursor up because that's the plane I want to mirror across. And I'll click that, and now I've got that piece mirrored over to the other side. For here, I'm going to select both of those rectangles and the outer wall that I already did and turn them into one object by going Modify, again because I'm in a 2D environment, Add Surface. And now that has become all one polygon and is the outline of my proscenium and the outer wall of my theater. Next, I'm going to draft the smoke pocket of my theater, which is the area that the fire curtain rides in just upstage of the proscenium. And to do this, I'm actually going to create another class, but this is going to be a subclass, so a class within a class. We already have the theater shell, so now I'm going to make this a subclass of that. So again, I'm going to go to my class options drop-down menu to show organization dialog box. And I'm going to say that I want new, and it's going to be theater shell hyphen smoke pocket. That hyphen tells Vectorworks that the smoke pocket is the new class inside the theater shell class. So I'm going to say OK, and here it is. So I'm going to make that the active class, and I'm going to say I want to edit it. And again, I want to use a creation. This time I want to leave the style as solid, but change the color to black. My pen is going to say solid and in black, but I want to make my line thickness 12, which is not an option in the drop-down menu. It goes from 10 to 14. So I'm going to say set thickness and click on that. It gives me this box. Mils, this is what we're working in. So thickness value wants to be 12. And I'll click OK. There it is. And I'll click OK. and one more time. And now you can see that we are in the theater shell smoke pocket is our active class that we're drafting in. So I'm going to start my double line polygon tool again, and this time I'm going to be in right control line mode, and I want to change my separation to be 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to zoom in on this downstage right section, and I'm going to go right to this endpoint and start my polygon. I'm going to come out to the left, and it's going to be 2 feet. Click there and come up 6 inches. Click there and come back to the right, another 2 feet. And then I'm going to double click on this point to end it. And we can see once I've done that, because I'm in that subclass, its line thickness is 12, and I'm referencing the class style, which is an opaque black fill, and you can see that that's what has happened there. I need to mirror that to the other side of the proscenium as well, so I'm going to do that the same way I did earlier. So I'm going to have that selected. I'm going to activate my mirror tool. I'm going to hover on this endpoint and then move my cursor over and hover on this endpoint until it creates this midpoint, and I'll click there and move my cursor up, establishing the plane I want to mirror across, and click to complete. And there's the other half of my smoke pocket. Next, I'm going to draft in a polygon to establish the stage area of the theater. And again, I'm going to create another subclass. So in my class options drop-down menu, I'm going to say Show Organization dialog box. And here's my smoke pocket inside my theater shell class. I'm just going to say New. Because I'm already in this class and have created a subclass, it's going to auto-populate that for me, which is great. And I'm just going to say this is going to be Stage. I'll click OK. I'll make it active. I'll edit it. I want to use at creation. I want the fill to be solid in white, so that's correct. I want the pen to be solid in black, and I want the thickness to be 7. Once I've got that set, I'll say OK, and click OK again. And now I'm ready. So I'm going to activate my polyline tool and make sure that I am in corner vertex mode. And I'm going to zoom into the downstage right part of our proscenium here, and I'm just going to start my polygon, and I'm going to go all along the inside perimeter of this theater space. So around the proscenium, that endpoint, there, there, there. And then again, I'm coming around the proscenium, and when I get to the onstage side of this part, as I come down, I actually want to come down a total of 4 feet, which is going to help define where the apron of the stage is. So I'm just going to tab into the floating datum bar, 4 feet, great. I'll click that, then off to the left. I know that this distance is 38 feet. Good. And then I'll just come up and click this endpoint to finish my polygon. So now my stage is actually covering up my smoke pocket, which I don't want, so I need to move my stage to the back. I can do that by doing Command B on a Mac or Control B on a Windows machine, or I can come up to Modify, Send to back, and now it's sent back, and I can still see my smoke pocket sections. Next, I need to put in my plaster line and center line of my theater. These are two essentially imaginary lines, but they help define the space, and we frequently use to measure things from to position things like scenery and props. So the first is the plaster line, which is an imaginary line that runs along the upstage edge of the proscenium arch. So to do this, I'm just going to activate my line tool, and I'm going to draw a line from this endpoint to this endpoint. From there, I'm going to make just a couple of adjustments to it in terms of how it looks. So I'm going to come over to pen, and instead of class style, I'm going to change it to line type. And I'm going to select my resource manager, and I want this to be ISO 02. There it is, dashed. So with that selected, I'll double click on ISO-02 dashed, and you can see that now I have a dashed line representing my plaster line. I'm going to do that again to create my center line. So again, I'll just activate my line tool. I'm going to go to the center of my plaster line because I know that that's equidistant between my proscenium, and come up to the back wall, and right where that intersects, I'll draw that line, and I'm going to come all the way down to the midpoint of my apron. So I've established my line. Again, I need to change its appearance. Standard convention in theater drafting is that a center line is a long, short, long dashed line. So again, I'll come to my attributes palette and change my pen style to line type. Open my resource browser, and I'm looking for ISO long dashed, short dashed. I'll double click on that, and now we can see that I have a long line short or long dash short dash running upstage, which represents the center line of my theater. I need to do one other thing to just help communicate a little bit more clearly, making sure that we're referenced to the correct items. So I'm going to start a new piece of text. I'm in Graphite MM. That's a font that I tend to like to draft with. You could really be in anything. Arial or Helvetica or Times would be fine, whatever you want. So I'm going to click to start my new text, and my first one is just going to be the letter P. And I'll escape that, and I'll do a second one, and it's going to be the letter L, and then I'll escape out of that. I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to change their size to 24. So they're quite a bit bigger. From here, I'm going to change their class style of their fill to none, so they have no fill. There we go. And then I'm just going to drag the L kind of on top of the P, so they're intersecting. Again, this is a theatrical convention in drafting. Once I've got it set like that, I'm going to just draw a marquee around both of them to select them, and Command G to make a group. So now it moves all as one thing. I'm going to grab the center of that group, and I'm going to move it up to my plaster line on the stage right side. I need to do the same thing for my center line, so I'm just going to duplicate the one I've already made. So Command D. I'm going to drag this up to the top and put the center of it right on my center line. Maybe. There we go. I'm going to double click to enter that group, and then I'm going to double click to enter into the text editor of the P, and I'm going to change the P to a C. So instead of plaster line, I now have center line. And I'm going to exit that group and zoom all the way out. And now I have a center line and a plaster line referenced in my theater that I can measure off of for scenery placement. Next, I'm going to start to draft my line set schedule, which is a 2D visual representation of where all of the pipes are in the theater. So again, I'm going to create a new subclass. So I'm going to go to my class options dropdown, so show organization dialog box, and with my stage selected, I'm going to say new, and it's going to be theater shell LSSCH is generally the abbreviation for line set schedule. I'll click OK, and it's established that subclass for me. I'm just going to click to make it the active one and go into edit to adjust a couple of things. I definitely want to use at creation, and I want the line thickness to be 7. From there, I'll click OK, and I'll click OK again, and then I'm ready to start. I'm going to do this first part just out in empty space because it makes it easier. So I'm going to start by creating a series of horizontally connected rectangles that are going to make up the various segments of information that I need to enter. So I'm going to start my rectangle tool. I know that all of these are going to be 6 inches high, and then there'll be different lengths. So the first one is going to be 12 inches by 6 inches. And then the next one is going to be 1 foot 6 inches by 6 inches. And the next one is going to be 3 feet by 6 inches. And the last one is going to be 1 foot 6 by 6 inches. There we go. Those are going to be all of the different segments of information that I'm going to be putting in. The next thing I'm going to do is activate my line tool, and I'm just going to draw a 6-inch line from the center left smart point of the leftmost rectangle coming out 6 inches. That line is going to designate exactly where in space the pipe is. From here, I need to create some new pieces of text. So I'm going to activate my text tool. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to come up and verify here. I want my my font size to be 6 for this part of the project. Then I'll activate my text tool. And this first one is going to be line set number. And I'm going to hit escape. And with that selected, I'm going to make it bold just so that it sticks out a little bit more and seems a little bit more important. From here, I'm going to grab the center of that and just drag it up into the center of my first rectangle. I'm going to start another one, and this one is going to be trim. Trim is how high in the air the pipe is, which will obviously vary between if it has curtains on it, legs or borders, if it has scenery, if it's a lighting pipe. We put all of those at different heights, and we need a place to reference those. So once I've got that, I'm going to take the center of it and drag it to the center of the second rectangle. I'm going to duplicate that and just drag the duplication down to work on it. And I'll enter into that. And this is going to be the purpose. And I'll drag that to the center and duplicate that again. And this one is going to be DIST. That's going to be short for distance, which is going to be how far away that pipe is from the plaster line. So I've got that. I'm going to grab the center. I'm going to come up and place it in the center of that rectangle. Next, I'm going to create a new info record for my line set schedule. This is going to work much the same way that the info record for our title block works. It's just going to be essentially create a series of database fields that I can enter and update depending on the information that I need to populate in a given drawing or in a given theater. So I'm going to come up to my resource manager. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the drawing I'm currently working in. And I'm just going to right click and say I want a new resource, and it's going to be a record format. The format name is going to be LS template. And the first field is going to be line set number. The name and default are going to be the same on this one. Then I'll create another new one. Its name is going to be trim. And its default is just going to be a plus sign for now. I'll create another new one. Its name is going to be purpose. And for now, the default is going to be open because the pipes by default are going to be empty, and then we'll update that information as things get hung on them. And I'll do one more, which is going to be the distance. And this is also just going to be a plus symbol for now in the default. I'll click OK. Here's all my fields. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to click OK, and that'll be finished. Next thing I need to do is create a symbol out of all of the elements of my line set. So I'm just going to click and drag till I've selected all of those items. And I'll come to Modify and Create Symbol. And it's going to give me this dialog box. I think we've seen this before. But the symbol is going to be line set template. The rest of the defaults are going to be fine. Oh, I used that already. Line set schedule. Great. And I'm just going to have it be in the destination folder. It'll just be the file. That's perfectly fine. For now, I'll say OK. Now, if I come up to my resource manager, we can see that I have that line set schedule. Yours may say line set template because I think I swapped these two things back and forth, but they essentially will now do the same thing. So with this selected, I need to attach the info record to it. So I'm going to come up to Tools, Records, Attach Record, and I'm going to choose the line set template. Again, yours is probably going to say line set schedule because I did those backwards. I apologize. Okay, and that was attached. Next, I need to attach the individual pieces of text to the fields in that database. Again, this is very much the same thing that we did with the title blocks. So I'm going to double click on here, and yes, I want to edit the 2D components. So I click on this, line set number, Tools, Records, Link Text to Record. I want the line set template, and it's going to be line set number. We'll say OK. Then I'll select Trim. It'll be the trim. And it's going to change it to a plus because that's what I said I wanted that default value to be when I created that info record. Next, I'm going to select Purpose. Again, Tools, Records, Link Text to Record. This one's going to be Purpose, and it's going to change it to Open. And then Distance records, link text to record, distance, which apparently I've spelled wrong, and I'll click OK, and again it's going to give me that plus. So those pieces of text are all linked to that record now, so I'm going to say exit symbol. Next, I'm going to establish the rest of my line sets. So with this symbol selected, I'm just going to click and drag the bottom right corner of it over here to the downstage left corner of my theater. And once I have it there, I'm going to move it, and I'm going to move it up 3.5 inches, which is going to put this line almost right in the middle of my smoke pocket where my fire curtain is going to go, which is exactly what I want. From here, we're going to do a new tool that we've not done before, which is duplicate array. So I essentially am going to make a series of duplications, and I'm going to set them at a predetermined distance. It's very similar to the move by points tool, other than with duplicate array, we're specifying the distance that each one is going to be offset from the previous. So with it selected, I'm going to go to Edit and Duplicate Array. I want to have 32 duplicates. I want Cartesian offset, and I want that offset to be 9 inches, which basically means that it's going to create 32 copies of the thing that I'm asking it to duplicate, and they're going to space each of those 9 inches apart, which is exactly what I want. Click OK, and there's the rest of my line sets populated on 9-inch centers. Now that I have all of my line set symbols created, I actually need to move all of them up 1/4 inch, and this is just so that the dimension spacing of them works correctly in the space. So I'm just going to draw a marquee around them since I had deselected them. So now I've got them all back, and now I'm just going to move them 1/4 inch on the Y offset, so they're going to pop up. That way I know that the dimensions that I've taken that I'm going to enter into each one of these are going to be correct. So from here I need to start populating the information about each individual line set. So I'm going to select my first one and come to my Object Info palette, and I want to be on the Data tab. And then here are all of the fields that we put together in the info record. So I'm going to change this line set number to FC, which is short for fire curtain. And then I'm going to come down to purpose and actually type out fire curtain. I'll hit enter, and you'll see that it's populated that information. I'm going to go through and change the rest of the individual line sets so that they match the table that is on page 22 of the written tutorial. But just as a couple of examples, I'll select this one, and it's going to become line set 1. Its trim and purpose are going to stay as their default, but its distance is going to be 1 foot 0 inches from plaster line. I'll go to the next one, and I'm going to change it to line set 2. Again, the trim and purpose stay as the default for now, and the distance is going to be 1 foot 9 inches, again because my line sets in this space are going to be on 9-inch centers. I'll do one more. This will be line set 3, and its distance will be 2 feet 6 inches. So now I'm going to go through and change all of the other individual ones so they match the table on page 22, and I'll be back in just a moment. Now that I have all of that information filled in, I need to adjust just a couple of things on the appearance of my fire curtain just so it stands out a little bit more. So I'm actually going to create a new symbol. I'm going to duplicate the line set symbol and change a couple of things about it and then replace it. So I'm going to come to my resource manager, to my line set schedule symbol, and I'm just going to right click on that and say duplicate. And I'm going to change this to LS fire curtain. There's my new symbol. And I want to go ahead and edit that, so I'm going to right click and say I want to edit the 2D components. And I'm going to select the line set number and the purpose, which in this case is open because it's referencing that info record. I've got both those selected, and I'm going to change the pen. Instead of the class style black, I'm going to change it to red, just so that these stand out a little bit more and everybody knows that it's a fire curtain and we can't hang scenery or lighting or anything else from it. Once I've got that, I'm going to exit my symbol and come down to my fire curtain line set and select it. Then I'll come up to my object info palette and go back to the shape tab, and there's a button that says replace. This may populate with something different for you, but I want to make that my my fire curtain symbol, so I'm going to be sure I'm in the drawing that I'm working in and say, yes, I want that, double click on that fire curtain symbol, and then I'll say okay, and you can see that it's replaced that. I am going to have to go back in because it's referencing that info record and just change those things, so I'll come back to my data tab and again make this FC and make the purpose fire curtain. And now it populates that information in red and it's a little bit more noticeable. From here, I'm ready to create a viewport and a new sheet layer so that I can export a PDF for printing. So I'm just gonna zoom out till the whole theater is on my page. And like the usual process we've gone through before, I'm going to activate my rectangle tool and just draw a rectangle all the way around it. I'm going to change its pen and its fill to none, so it's a transparent rectangle. And then I'm going to say view, create viewport. Yes. I want the viewport name to be ground plan. I'm going to go ahead and just create a new sheet layer. It's going to be 1, and it's going to be ground plan as well. Okay. I'm going to not use the drawing label. It will be drawing 1, and the drawing title will also be ground plan. And I want this to be in 1/2-inch scale. Okay. And I'll zoom to fit to page. And we can see that the theater is filling up almost the entirety of the page. There's really not a lot of space on the outside. There's not any room for my title block up the left-hand side. If this were a light plot, there really isn't any room for lighting key, etc. So I'm just going to go ahead and print this out on a larger piece of paper. So I'm going to come to File, Page Setup, and in my sizes, I want US Arch E, so it's a 48 by 36 piece of paper. There we go. And then obviously for that, I will need my E size title block. So I'm going to come to my resource manager and into my title blocks and choose US Arch E. I'll activate that and double click to insert. And then while I have it selected, I'm going to come to my object info palette, again to my data tab, and I'm just going to go ahead and update the pertinent information. So this is going to be 1/2 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. It was drafted by me. I'm just going to put in my initials. Today's date, which is April 23rd, 2026. The drawing title is going to be ground plan, and it is page 1 of 1 as far as we're concerned for this. So I'm going to hit enter, and I'll just zoom in just to double check, and yep, I've populated all of that information, which is great. So again, I'm going to zoom to fit to page and File, Export, Export PDF. Gives me this screen here. All of my defaults are fine, so I'll say Export. And I want to put it here. We'll just call it Barrymore Theater for now. And save. Yes, I can replace it because I already have one. And it produces the ground plan of my drawing. From here, you can upload this ground plan to Nexus, and you're all finished with this project.